Welcome to the What Now podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Powers. Follow along as I figure out how to go from feeling lost and at a crossroads in my life to hopefully, eventually, being found. If you have ever felt like you needed a change or pivoting from your current experience is necessary, but you just don't know how, join me. Wanderers are always welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to What Now, podcast for Lost and Found. This is your host, Amanda. I am so excited to be back on the mic with you this week. I am by myself. This is your first solo episode in quite some time, actually, well over a month. I was just looking back at my records, and the last solo episode with just me was published May 1st, and it is now June 25th as I record today. So it's been a minute. So I thought we should catch up, and I'd kind of give you a rundown of like things that have been going on in May and June and stuff that's coming up in July, and then kind of get into an update of just about where my head's at in terms of this, wanderer journey and things that I've been thinking about and content that I've been consuming that has been particularly helpful, and kind of see what's up and get y'all's opinions on that mindset. And if you've ever dealt with that before, hopefully I can get some feedback, or you guys can leave me some reviews or comments, tag me in your social media, anything that you think might be helpful related to what we're talking about this week. It would be great to engage with you and hear more from the listeners, the Wanderlust group. So, oh my gosh, let's get into it. So the last time I chatted with you was in May, so we had a lot happen. April was the 2 bachelorette parties. May had pretty much back-to-back events most weekends. First was the Formula One race in Miami with my friend Courtney. We've covered that a couple times. One on a totally dedicated episode, and then I think once when we chatted with Vidisha, my good friend Vidisha from high school. I gave her a little bit of a rundown on it, but definitely go back and listen to those episodes if you want a full review. The one with Courtney is quite unhinged. You get a decent glimpse into our friendship, which is just mostly goofy and started out impulsive, right? So we had met each other when we were working in DC together, but we really solidified our friendship, I want to say, the summer of 2016, where we had some crazy adventures and traveled together. Oops. No. I forgot to turn on my mute. Please excuse me. Oh my goodness. Okay. So let's see. So go back and listen to the Formula One race episode if you're interested in that. I can't really explain it very well. I am new to racing. I am not a gearhead, as Vidisha teased me. I don't know anything about the industry in and of itself, but it looks like a lot of fun. And Instagram is starting to send me all of the reels that people make in terms of, do you want a job at F1? Do you want a job in racing? Do you want a job doing X, Y, or Z for Mercedes or Ferrari or whichever? And these jobs, I'm not going to lie, look hella fun. Like you're traveling all over the world. You're working with different marketing and engineering and logistical teams, stats teams, programming and commercial merchandise, etc. It looks like a lot of fun. So if anybody works in that industry and is interested in coming on the show, or knows someone that does this that would want to talk about it, let me know. You can always hit me up at askwhatnowpodcast@gmail.com. And that would be great to learn more about F1 and the history behind it, and anybody that switched careers and dove headfirst into that and how that has worked out for them. I think that would be a fascinating show and a lot of fun to just kind of recap and educate myself, honestly. But yeah, after Formula One, we had the Bad Bunny concert was in Nashville. I obviously have gushed about Bad Bunny a few times on the show, but it was really, really cool. I had a great time. I bought those tickets last minute with a friend of mine in my neighborhood. who is also a huge fan of Bad Bunny. And even though I didn't understand all of the songs, I had a really good time just kind of vibing out. And there's something about seeing someone be in their element that's just so intoxicating. Like it's so enchanting. But like the concept of being able to watch someone that you care about do so well and essentially be in their element, no matter what it is. But like for him, you could tell that him being on stage brought him to life. He was connecting with everyone, most of the people there, if not all of the people there. He was putting in an effort to face and turn around and dance and rap to every single corner of that stadium. And the people loved it. They absolutely loved it. He loved being able to catch whatever they were tossing to him, or point at people and say something, or reach back out, or read their signs, or respond to questions and stuff. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to be that up close to him and see him operate in his element. You can tell exactly why he loves what he does and why he's good at what he does. And the persona that he's putting out is relatable, or the person that he is clearly crossing barriers despite being predominantly communicated in Spanish. So I thought that was just really, really cool. So if anybody ever gets a chance to see Bad Bunny live, I think you should go. It's a lot of fun. He's a good time. After Bad Bunny, we had a huge week with the podcast. I was interviewing people back to back. So I'm going to link in the show notes this time back to those episodes so you can go back and, regroup or re-listen to those, because I think they were really good. We got to meet with Michael Chernow, who is a mega content creator in and of himself, but he's a former restaurateur, podcaster, TV actor, producer, host, business serial entrepreneur person, and father, lifestyle coach, professional athlete. Like you name it, this man's probably done it. And he has his own nutrition and wellness based company called Creatures of Habit. And so it was really fun getting to talk to him and learn about his journey through essentially his career path, but like him nearly not having a path because of his drug addiction, and deciding his pivotal moments when he decided to kind of move out and really take care of himself and reinvent who he is and what he wants out of life, and how that has changed him for the better over the last 20 years. And so it was really cool to chat with him. I love re-listening to his episode because he just gives you a lot of really, solid gold insights on how to care for yourself and care for your body, and the importance of selflessness, but selfishness too, to prioritize what's important to you so that way you can function to the best possible level every day. We also chatted with Sarah Fraser, who is the host of the Sarah Fraser Show, which was recently picked up. She is now part of a reality TV network and is going to have her own show hosted, but she and I had a great time chatting with each other. We had a similar origin in DC and probably even crossed paths a little bit at some point, which was kind of crazy to sit there and chat with her about her life back then and mine. But she's based in LA now and does pop culture and reality TV recaps on her daily show. And you can find her pretty much on every social media. I'll link her stuff as well as her podcast episodes. That way you can go back and listen to her. She's very funny, unapologetic, and very much exactly what she puts online is who she is in person. So it was very cool to just meet her and pick her brain, since she's got, the 10 plus years of radio and talk show industry experience that I do not have. So it was just really nice to meet her. We also chatted with Jesse Catches, who is a content creator and video production creator based in New York City. He was originally on the West Coast, but moved, I believe, in 2014 or somewhere between 2014 and 2016 era to New York with his now fiance. And he's been making content related to anxiety and touching slightly on stress, triggers, OCD, panic attacks, but mainly focusing on anxiety and his struggles with anxiety and how that has affected his life and changes within his lifestyle choices. And he's using his personal experience to share ways for you to grow and manage your anxiety on a daily basis. And so he's really cool, such a generous guy to give his time and energy to the show, and I'm extremely appreciative of that. I will also link his information so you can find him and go back and listen to his episode as well. I think he gives, just a humility and a humbling story, and it helps you realize that anxiety can pop up for anybody, at any time. This isn't something that you necessarily have to be born with, but once you are dealing with it, it can be a daily excursion. It's a daily experience that you have to work on and actively choose to engage with. You can't just ignore it and expect it to go away. So it was good to kind of hear his suggestions for what you should be doing and how to build better decision-making skills while addressing your anxiety. So he was cool. We also have chatted recently with Ellie Weinstein. He is a licensed clinical social worker and runs his practice out of Las Vegas. He also has his own podcast called The Dude Therapist. I'll be sure to link that for you as well in the show notes. He was fun to chat with. He gave us a lot of information about anxiety around relationships, parenting, and his therapy techniques for his particular clients, especially those that are dealing with issues of self-loss and identity and concerns with their marriage, and how that can kind of manifest in your romantic relationships and what you need to do in order to address those feelings and how to mitigate kind of what's going on and what are some things you could say to your partner to help open up those conversations and improve your vulnerability between each other, which would ideally improve or vulnerability. You keep hearing this on Instagram or socials all the time, but I'm sure it's far more complicated than just this, but vulnerability breeds vulnerability. So by taking the first step, he says that by taking the first step and showing your vulnerability, explaining what you're thinking and feeling to your partner, it'll help them want to explain and to you what they're also thinking and feeling when they're feeling vulnerable or lost or upset or having a hard time emotionally. So it was good to understand more from a professional level perspective what this looks like when it manifests. And he even gave examples from his personal life where he's struggled with these things or had issues with his parenting skills or his marriage skills, and what did he do to kind of acknowledge his setbacks and what he could do to fix them. So that was good, like a whole well-rounded episode. And then at the end of the month in May, I went to the Megan Thee Stallion concert. You're probably sick of me bringing this up. You're probably sick of me saying her name constantly, and I don't care, but I love her, and it was a huge bucket list moment for me. I love her. I've loved her for years. Anyone that knows me knows that I that is the theme song of my life, is pretty much all of her albums. If there was a movie ever made about me, there will be at least 5 Megan Thee Stallion songs in that movie. I have dreamed about twerking with her ever since she became mainstream. I love her so much. I am a huge fan of her and what she stands for and everything that she brings to women's empowerment and, safety and, healthy relationships for women, the stuff that she does for with her philanthropies for helping the elderly and getting women out of domestic abuse situations. I think she's just badass. I really do. And she looks so good. She looks so good on stage. So her hottie workouts that she's been posting on Instagram and YouTube, they're working. They're doing it. She looks great. I admire her very, very much, and I hope I can interview her someday. She's on the dream guest list, and for a long time I had her on like my bucket list of being able to twerk with her. So it was a really big deal because when we went to the show, I actually did get to do that. I got called up on stage to do that. I didn't get to meet her directly, but I was allowed on stage with her present, which counts in my book. It counts. But Someday, you guys, mark my words right now, June 25th, 2024, I am predicting and manifesting that I will get to interview Megan Thee Stallion in person, and we will get to twerk together live again. I think it'd be fun. I think she's so cool. She really is. I love her. So that was a great weekend. And then, let's see, coming up in June, Dolly went home at the end of June, beginning of June. My parents came back from Europe, so she is no longer here with us, which is sad for Dirks, but good for her because she wants to be home with them, and she likes having the freedom of being on the farm and seeing her cats that she loves being with. We also interviewed, as I mentioned earlier in this episode, our good friend Vidisha. She recently finished her PhD program while living in Atlanta. She is currently looking for jobs in the vaccine, public health, immunology world. So if you all know anybody that's in that particular industry or with the CDC or USAID up in DC, hit a girl up. You can find Vidisha's contact info in her episode, but I can also link that back in here on this episode show notes. And then just local stuff that was happening. We had the CMA Festival in Nashville and Pride weekends back to back, which was absolute chaos, but obviously a whole lot of fun for anybody that came in town for those weekends. It is blazing hot. It's been in the 90s for 2 weeks straight. I can hardly walk Dirks. He can't make it very far. So we've not been particularly active, but for one of the weeks while I was home here in June and not actually traveling, I did sign up for a CrossFit workout. So I did 5 workouts for $1. Yeah. Oh gosh, 5 workouts for $1 at Proven, PRVN. And that gym is over in Berry Hill area. I did that with some friends. The same girl that went to Bad Bunny with me, and it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. I love the vibe there. I had a good time meeting all of the people that are full-time members there. Everybody was super sweet, super supportive in advance, and I'm not, and that's okay. And I am extremely aware of my limitations physically, and I did not feel the need to try and compete or impress anyone while I was there. And it was good because it let me practice a lot of the exercises at a reasonable pace with a reasonable amount of weight, and I liked it a lot. So if you can afford a CrossFit gym in Nashville and you like that stuff, I think it's a really good gym and worth the time going. So what else is going on? Coming up right now for the rest of the month, this week, I'm going to get to see Jared Freed. He's coming to Zany's here in Nashville. So I got tickets for me and some of my friends to go. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be really funny. I heard about him the first time when I was listening to Girls Gotta Eat, and I think he's pretty good friends with Ashley and Raina, the hosts of that show and that podcast, and he has his own podcast and stuff too that he does in New York, and I think his Netflix special came out last year as well, so he's getting it, and I think it's going to be a good time. So that's coming up this week, which I'm excited about. And then something off my manifesting vision board is about to happen too. I'm so stoked. So it's the 25th right now, but it'll be Saturday, the 29th of June, I'm going to get to meet Danielle Wilson. For those of you that have followed me for a while or watched some of my social media posts, I really admire Danielle Wilson. I found her through Instagram back in like 2018-ish and started following her when she used to be sponsored by this athletic wear company called Balance, now called Vitality, and she used to do reels for them with clothing hauls for the new launches, and she did these crazy fun like half dancing, half workout, like body weight workout related clothing hauls, and they were done really well, and they were so funny, and it obviously would convince anyone to want to try and buy those clothes, because you're going to think, oh, if I put those shorts on, or I wear that bra, or I do that outfit combo, I'm going to look that good in that gym too. So I started following her, but she turned into this not just an influencer, but a strong entrepreneurial woman. And she, as I learned more about her story, I just fell in love with it, essentially. And she's a huge inspiration for me, not only as a woman or an athlete in the gym, but as a daughter, as a future businesswoman, if I want to go out on my own, as a friend. She just keeps things really authentic and unique and straightforward with you, and she tells her whole story, even through shame, times of grief, times of hardship. And it's been super cool to just kind of, from the outsider's perspective looking in, obviously it's a pseudo internet relationship. I've never met her in real life. She's never met me. We're not actually friends, but I admire her so much, and I would put money behind her that for anything she touches is gold in my opinion. But I really saw her blow up when she joined the Evolve You app, and she used to be a trainer on there. She was their very first strength and power fitness trainer. And you can still get her programs when you download the app. But she recently left the app and is no longer on creating new programs on there. She's left and started her own new project, which she has not released. But the point of the whole story is that I get to meet her on Saturday. She is hosting a workout event at the Ava Rooftop Hotel, and I'm super stoked. She is sponsored by the supplement company called Beam, which stands for Be Amazing. And it was started by one of the founders who needed a life-saving cancer treatment and couldn't take supplements during that process that weren't going to mess with him while he was dealing with his cancer recovery. And so he started Beam as his answer to the problem. And so it's been really cool to learn more about their particular company and what it is that they do. But she's sponsored by them, so that's why they're bringing her down to host the event. And I'm just super excited to finally get to meet her, because I love her. I think she's great. She's talented. She's funny. She's strong. She's inspiring. And she's honest. And she's who I would want to be when I grow up if I was in the fitness industry. I just admire her so much. So that's coming up. Super excited. And then July, I'm going to go up to DC for a few days to visit some friends. I have my final haircut appointment with my stylist in Philadelphia. I have not wanted to give him up at all. I love him so much. But with my brother's wedding coming up in July and the rebranding that we're doing for the podcast, I kind of wanted one last hairstyling, one last haircut, one last beautification, if you will, before the wedding and before the photo shoot. Which I don't know if anybody will understand this other than women, but like the transformative power of a good haircut is crazy. And I was in such a weird place when I first moved to Philadelphia, and for long story, but I wanted to go red. I wanted to be a redhead. I had thought about doing it for a really long time, but was never brave enough to pull the trigger, and wasn't really sure I could find the right person that would be able to do the color that I was envisioning in my head. And I found Bobby Mack. He is the owner of Bobby Mack Studios and Bobby Mack Hair Co. And he trains and owns his own studio, and also works between New York and Philadelphia and does celebrity hairstyling and stuff sometimes too. But I got in under his red hair program, and even though I don't even live there anymore, I have been going back at least once a year since I left, and I miss him very much, so I need to go back and get my hair redone one more time before the wedding. So be on the lookout. Your girl's gonna have new headshots soon. She's gonna have a new look. We'll see how it goes, but I'm super excited to see him. So that's coming up in July. And the photo shoot I'm talking about, I kind of mentioned this on Vidisha's episode, but I know that what I am posting and showing for my brand is not very consistent right now for the podcast and what I'm trying to create under the Lost and Found. And I need to make that brand identity more succinct and consistent when I'm posting across various pages, and finally get everything up on YouTube and get my logo and get all of that set up, so that way my branding and my imaging is obvious and tells the story in the way that I want to tell it in the best way possible. And it'll just be easier for me to templatize a lot of things since I am a one-woman show and trying to come up with what it is that I want to say and what it is that I want to look like, because how I present myself to the world, even if you tell yourself you don't care what other people think, but how you choose to present yourself to the world matters. And I want to connect with people very specifically with this brand. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing that the right way. So I'm doing a photo shoot and working with a friend that's a photographer and a graphic designer here in Nashville. So I'm super excited to get that done. And I can't wait to see what her vision is. We've thrown some ideas together back and forth, but I'm really looking forward to the results and seeing what comes from it. So we'll see how that goes. And as I mentioned, end of the month, my brother's getting married. Marriage is what brings him together today. No. It's a terrible Princess Bride quote. I'm sorry. Please don't get mad at me. That is coming up at the end of the month. So super excited about that. I've been quietly listening in on all of the family group chats because I don't really have much to say or contribute other than that looks good, delicious, and can't wait. I got to get ready for that. I have a dress picked out and bride approved, and now I got to get shoes and probably some jewelry together. We'll see. We'll have to put it all together and come up with the final product. Maybe I can do a styling reel of some sort and put that up on Instagram or something like that. If I'm feeling frisky and creative enough to do that before the event. Oh gosh. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But speaking of feeling creative enough, that kind of leads us into the topic I wanted to cover for this week. I've been struggling a bit with feeling a loss of creativity lately. It's been great having other guests on back to back, and being able to batch record a lot of things was good because I could edit as I went along during the week and then just schedule it to post and push the episode out there and then like repost videos and images and clips from each of the interviews just to kind of see how things were going and what was up. But I've also had a lot of work going on at work where I'm doing more copywriting and editing. And so I've noticed that for me, what creative energy or creative peaks I do have, it gets spent on my day job. And so my day job, as it should, gets my attention and gets the majority of my capability used up. And so when I do finally have the free time to sit down and do an episode or start planning out what I want to talk about or writing an outline or coming up with an idea for a reel or a post or something, I'm not really hitting a wall, but I'm just blank. Like my brain feels empty. And I don't know if that's hormonal or if that's just the workload or my busy schedule, or if I'm coming up to a moment where I'm kind of losing sight of my why or my vision. And because I can't get back to that original vision, that's why I can't come up with an idea, or I'm struggling with, I really should get this done tonight, or I should record tonight. And like the other day for Vidisha's episode, we recorded on a Friday. I had to leave immediately after recording, drive 4.5 hours to my parents' house, spent a couple of days with my parents. So while I was working, or while I was with my parents, I still had to work over the weekend on my day job work. We're in the middle of applying for a really large government vehicle that would give us access to more technology-based task orders, and it would be a potential for a 10 years worth of revenue stream, which is a great opportunity for the agency. When it's a massive government contract like that, it takes a lot of time and a lot of copy because you got to fill in all of the different requirements and questions. And so by the time it would come down to me trying to figure out what to say for myself or what to write for myself, I I was just at a blank. And Vidisha's episode was over an hour and a half long, like a little bit over an hour and a half. So I had to listen to the entire thing, cut it down. And I was originally thinking, you could just split it up into 3 parts and, do part 1, part 2, part 3 episode release. And that way everybody gets like around a 30-minute clip. And that way it's a little more bite size and people could digest that. And while that was probably a good idea, and if I had the time earlier in the week to cut it and edit that correctly, that probably would have saved me some, would have given me some buffer room, would have given me another week or 2 to come up with the next idea of what other episode I wanted to talk about and what I wanted to do. But by the time I actually was able to sit down, edit the whole thing, have the mental space, I just said, whatever, just get it out. Just put it out. It's an hour and 20 now instead of being an hour and 35. Either they'll listen to it or they won't. And that's not the attitude I want to have, right? It's not. I love this so much, and I want this so badly, and I don't want it to turn into a chore. And that's really, I guess, what I'm afraid of. And the moment it starts feeling like a chore, and the moment it starts feeling like too much to do, is where I worry that I'm going to start slipping, and where I'm going to start being okay with not showing up, and being okay with not following through on the promises that I made to myself, that you will do 1 a week. It's not that hard to do 1 a week. You can do 1 a week. You're doing them all virtually anyway. You're not renting a studio. You're not doing some high level production. You're not spending a bunch of money on it. Like, you can do 1 a week. And I guess I am in an era, to steal the internet's favorite phrase right now, I'm in a what are you chasing? I'm in a questioning myself era, because I've noticed that I'm going back and forth between, I have to keep the balance of keeping the lights on through my day job. Like, I can't not work, because this isn't anything yet, even though I want it to be someday. I've got to do my day job. I have to simultaneously do my day job, figure out what I'm good at, and figure out how much I'm willing to sacrifice to make my dreams happen. And I kind of have to rotate priorities between those 3 things over and over and over again, every single day, every single week, every single month that I've been doing this. And we're at our 9-month mark, right? Ish. Yeah. We've passed our 9-month mark now. And when I have so much going on, and it feels like I still have so far to go, it's been really hard to stay motivated and keep wanting to show up for myself. And I worry about that kind of slippery slope. I know why I'm here, right? I started this because I desperately needed the outlet. I'm here because when I tried to find a podcast that was talking about what I was dealing with, I couldn't find it. Or I at least couldn't find a host that was dedicated to just this. There's a lot of psychology podcasts or relationship podcasts that talk about, romance and sex and the dynamics of different relationships and anxiety in your relationships. And then there's psychology behind there's a lot of therapist and patient shows. So like, a therapist comes on, the patients agree to be recorded. They get different names. Obviously, everything's hidden for HIPAA and whatnot, but like, you get an hour of listening in on a therapy session, or you get like whatever that particular therapist's specialty is. But for somebody like me, who I wouldn't say took a dramatic exit, because the moment in and of itself wasn't dramatic. No, like, it was dramatic because it was such a big pivot away from what I was doing. So for me, it felt dramatic to make this giant change in my life and then go, okay, I thought this was a good idea. Why do I still feel this way? And I couldn't find anybody that was doing what I wanted to know about. I couldn't find anybody that was saying what I wanted to hear, or what I needed to hear, I guess. So I found bits and pieces from other people and started piecing them together into my own show, which is how I ended up getting to meet like Case Kenny or Eddie Pinero or any of the other knowledgeable experts that have been able to come on my show so far. It's been great doing that and meeting them, because I never would have met them otherwise if I wasn't willing to admit that I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time, and I need direction, and I need purpose again, and I need to know that just because I don't have the answers, that this is not a waste of time. Still, I'm in a season where I still like doing it. I still like being here. I still want to make this work, and I'm going to make this work. It's just been kind of hard to get back into the right zone and in the right mindset where I feel creative and productive while I'm doing it. Especially for these solo episodes, I guess, which you're going to get a lot more solo episodes over the next few weeks, just based on scheduling and what I've got going on and who's available to come on the show and stuff. I feel like I'm just in this season of hitting creative blockers. I know there's, like, for writers, they call it writer's block. I don't know if there's a content creator block, but like a content block. I think that's what's happening to me. I'm in a content block. I'm being stretched thin, and I'm reprioritizing over and over and over again what I need to do now to set up my future. And I don't know if I'm prioritizing any of this in the right way. Like, obviously requirements get done. Like, my bills get paid. I show up for work. Dirks is taken care of. I, for the most part, will work out and take care of my health and whatever. There were a couple of things that were shared with me this week, or I guess because your phone is constantly listening. She sounds like she's spiraling, so let's send her this content and see if it's helpful. So there was a couple of things that popped up into my feed this week that I thought just kind of reminded me, don't freak out, you're okay. And also reassured me that, like, yeah, the questions you're having are actually the questions you should be having, because you can't move forward until you get to these answers. And so if you're stuck on these questions, good, right? And so I thought I would share them with you. I will link them in the show notes so that way you can listen to them as well if you wanted to. But as I mentioned before, I interviewed Eddie Pinero several months back, early 2024, and he posted on June 24th a reel that he did with this Instagram page called The Good Quote. And in the reel, it's just Eddie walking. It looks like the streets of New York, but he's walking around the streets, and it says, "That thing that gives you butterflies, that lights you up, that world you see when you close your eyes, chase that. With all of your soul, chase it." And then it just loops, right? So it's just him walking and repeating that essentially over and over again. That thing that gives you butterflies, that lights you up, that world you see when you close your eyes, chase that. With all of your soul, chase it. And it's simple, and it's not overdone, and yet it holds a heavy punch to it. It gets down to the brass tacks of, what is that one thing that is sticking in the back of your mind? What is that itch that you refuse to scratch? What is that image or thing or idea that keeps popping up that you have never let go of? No matter how much older you get, no matter how much wiser you get, no matter when you move, what career you're in, whatever it is that you're thinking or doing or feeling, what is that constant in your life? And for me, it's still this. I still have a very specific vision for what I want to do with the show and what I want to create it into in terms of a live event, and how I would want it to interact with the audience eventually. As you build up a following and you build up a larger audience and you have more people that would be interested in meeting up, I have a very specific vision for what I want this to become. And I get excited when I think about the rebrand that I'm shooting in July, and I get excited about turning this into a real commodity, into a real entity. Like being able to wake up every day and think, wow, I get to interview the most amazing people from all over the world. I get to chat with people who are vulnerable and honest and changing people's lives every single day by sharing their stories. I am personifying the Humans of New York Instagram page into a podcast, but it's based in Nashville and now has a twang in the audio because of the interviewer. I don't know. So whatever. But like, I appreciated being able to see that quote because it was kind of like, I don't know how Eddie does this, but he always posts things exactly when you need to hear them. Probably because he posts things exactly when he needs to hear them. And that's why they resonate so hard. Like deep in your soul resonate. And he's a phenomenal motivational speaker, and his podcast is also really good, called Your World Within. I would follow that if you don't yet. But I listened to that reel and his collaboration with a good quote, and they're not wrong. What is that one thing that's in the back of your mind? You need to chase that. And that could be for anything, right? Like that could be your dream job, that could be your dream relationship, that could be your dream accomplishment. Like if you're trying to win a Nobel Peace Prize or invent something or find the cure for something, or you live in Ohio, but you dream about becoming an actor someday. You like the dream of moving to LA, and that's the only thing you ever think about. It's the only thing you ever envision. It's the only life you could have ever thought you would love. Like you owe it to yourself to try. And I appreciated the reel because it reminded me that I owe it to myself to try. I owe it to myself to keep going, even when the day is hard, even when I feel like I have nothing to say, that nobody's going to care. The truth is, sometimes what I say is going to resonate, and sometimes what I say is not. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And that's all right. Because there's going to be other days where it hits the nail on the head, and I have multiple people that have reached out to me, and they thank me for the episode and how much they really appreciated it, and I am moved by that, because sometimes those are the moments where they pick something out of the episode that I had no idea was going to be important, but it was important to them, and that's very touching. That gives me the reassurance that it's working somewhere for someone, and that's really all I could ask for. So that was the first thing that came across my feed that I thought was really helpful for me to, bring myself back down to reality and to remember that like the thing that I'm chasing still matters. Even if I'm having a hard time visualizing where to go next, the fact that I'm even visualizing it at all means that it's still important to me and I can't not show up. And then another thing I saw it today, was on LinkedIn. Someone's post came up in my feed, and it was a video clip, a short clip of Matthew McConaughey, and he was being interviewed, and someone asked him a question about what advice he would give to younger people, and the title of that particular post said, "Can you define what you have an innate ability for and match that with what you are willing to hustle to get?" And in that, he's essentially explaining that a lot of people are going to spend time hustling for a job that they're told they're supposed to have, but they may not like it, but it pays well and it helps them get by, so they stick with it, but they may not necessarily love it that much. And sometimes people really, really, really want something, and they really, really want to try hard, and they're just not good at that job. So they're not able to ever move forward with that particular career, despite how hard they're working and hustling, because it's just not really in their skill set. And then you've got other people where they do hustle hard for something that they want, and they will eventually get better at it. But you spend 10, 12, 15 years honing your craft, and then at the end of the day, you're not really happy with where you are. So that happiness and that issue comes from that misalignment. If you're trying to pursue something and you want to be successful at it, the best way to go about it is to pick something you're already good at, that you truly enjoy doing, and decide how much effort are you willing to put in to get it to where you want it to be. And I don't know that I'm innately good at podcasting. I mean, I don't, oh gosh. I've never considered myself a talker, right? Like I sing and I'm goofy and I'm weird and I am open pretty much with my friends when I'm comfortable with them, and I will contribute to a conversation, but I don't necessarily consider myself loud or boisterous or like the center of attention in a room or at a party. I'm willing to be a connector. I am a supportive person. But typically my communication is reserved for just when I want to get a point across, I'm able to succinctly put it together and do it. But an innate ability to me means that like you have the ability to, burn and churn content, and you can ask the right questions in an interview and get the answer out of it that you wanted, or you have the ability to make people feel comfortable and want to engage with you. And I think that that is true. I do think that I have that. I have the ability to hold a conversation and make a social situation pleasant. But flipping that into something that's financially capable, I have no idea, right? Like, and I've never done anything like this before, so I don't really know what's the hustle level, because is there a formula? Am I missing something, right? If there's tiers of systems, like if you hustle 2 times this amount, you'll get this much output. If you hustle 5 times this amount, you'll get this much output. If you hustle 7 times more than you ever thought you could hustle, you'll win it all. And it's kind of like, okay, well, if I had known that that's the tiered system I needed, like I would have put more into that. But also, what's realistic right now for me? What am I supposed to be? Where am I supposed to put everything? How do I hustle without getting overwhelmed? How do I hustle? If the phrase work smarter, not harder is true, still, how do I hustle smarter, I guess? I'm not saying I don't want to work on it. I'm not saying I don't want to get better at it, but the reality on the ground is I have to prioritize my time appropriately. So how do I hustle smarter? What am I chasing? And how do I chase it efficiently for the time being until I'm in a place where I can devote myself to this full time? Because I think if I had the ability to devote it full time, we'd be off to the races. I'd be burning and churning everything that I had. I'd give it my absolute all, but I can't do that right now. So to answer Matthew McConaughey's question, I think I have the innate ability to help people feel comfortable in a situation that they really don't want to be in. You don't want to talk about being vulnerable or having a traumatic story or feeling lost in your life or feeling like you made a bunch of mistakes to finally get to where you wanted to be. And yet I do my best to help people and ask people questions that would want them to share those scary, risky, confusing parts of themselves to others as a way to help others feel better about their own scary, confusing, risky situations where they're feeling lost. But the hustle, I think the hustle is at a let's just sustain right now, because I think if I try to push myself any further, it'll start to feel like a chore, and I have to avoid that at all costs. I can't do hustle level 7. It's just not gonna happen. Not right now. I go back and forth in my own head where I don't feel like I have the innate ability for content creation. Like, yes, I work in marketing, but I work on a sales team, so I work on business development with the federal government. I don't create things. I'm not a graphic designer or a video production manager or audio engineering or the website developers or anything like that. So I'm not actually creating the product every day. So for me, sometimes the salesy, modern day influencer, content creator lifestyle that gets promoted on socials, or, you know, at least the lifestyle that I perceive it to be on socials, like, makes me feel like I'm forcing it if I bring stuff up sometimes, or if I post something, it feels inauthentic to just sell somebody shit. Like, why would I sell something or talk about something on my pages that I don't actually use, right? That I've never tested out before, and I don't know that anyone actually cares about what it is that I'm posting or what I share on my pages. Is anything about what I'm saying actually helping anyone? I have no idea. I really don't. And so I guess that knowledge gap is what makes me feel like I don't have the innate ability for content creation. I definitely don't ever think I would blow up overnight. Like, that seems to be rare and few and far between. But I think that's that knowledge gap about, and I don't even know if I'm doing it the right way, is probably why I'm struggling so much with it. I don't know that I'm not cut out for the job or I'm not cut out for the industry, but I want to keep doing this my way. I want to keep doing this at a hustle level that feels realistic, at a production level that feels authentic to who I am, so that I can keep chasing what it is that I actually want. And for anybody that is interested, they can follow along. And hopefully that investment that I keep making into myself becomes the right thing. It becomes the knowledge base that I was looking for all along. We'll see. But that's kind of where my head's at right now. Trying to figure out restating my why to myself, restating the purpose of what I'm chasing to myself, and being honest with you right now that I kind of have no idea if any of this is working. I have no idea if any of this is effective. I have no idea if any of this is useful to anybody that's listening or engaging on my social, but I'm going to keep going for me. And if you would like to join, wanderers are always welcome. But that's really all I have for you this episode and this week. I hope if you were struggling or confused about what to chase, look in the show notes and go listen to that website stuff from Eddie Pinero. Look at the Matthew McConaughey videos. He's got a bunch of motivational speeches all over YouTube. They're both really good insights and gentlemen in that space, and I have found a lot of comfort in listening to Eddie's episodes and his video clips, which is why I reshare those a lot, just because if it hits me or it makes me feel better or it changes my mindset or moves me forward in a place that I think is a positive direction, I want to share those things with you too, because if it helped me, I hope it'll help you as well. That's the end of our episode for today. I am so very, very grateful for all of you that have listened all the way through. It means the world to me for all of you following along on this crazy journey of mine on this show. And I would love it if you would like, subscribe, leave a review. Leaving the 5 stars and the reviews is the best way to help the show and get it promoted and shared with others. So if you want to share the show with your friends, your families, your sisters, your brothers, cousins, mothers, all the wedding guests you're meeting all summer long, please send them a link to the show, share it. It would mean the absolute world to me. If you can take the time to write a review, that would also be really great. Anytime I have new posts on social media, on Instagram or TikTok, you can share those as well. I love hearing from any of the listeners. Anything that you've enjoyed so far, let me know and I can keep that up. If you have any topics that you would like to share or any guests that you think would be really good to come on the show, you can send me an email at askwhatnowpodcast@gmail.com. I appreciate any and all feedback that you have, and I love hearing from the Wanderlust crew that are out there. So remember, wanderers are always welcome, and I'll see you next week.